The iron doors groaned open. Cold air pressed against Elara's skin, slicing through the silk and lace at her wrists. Her fingers clenched a sealed letter, edges nicking her palm. As she stepped into the throne room's cavernous dark, frost gathered at the marble seams. Her every breath rose like a warning. The midnight court had gathered, rows upon rows of chained nobles, shackles glinting beneath torchlight, eyes sharp as winter glass, silver collars bit into proud necks. The air crackled with fear and old magic. At the dais' summit, High Lord Varen stood, broad-shouldered, draped in midnight blue brocade. He raised one gloved hand. The room fell silent, the only sound the rattle of chains and the faint, strangled whimpers of those kneeling. Even Lady Mirae, lips pursed and eyes glacial, lowered her gaze. Elara stood alone, no metal fetters, only the letter and the weight of 100 watching predators. Her legs threatened to fold, yet she locked her knees, forcing breath through her teeth. Varen's amber eyes pinned her. He nodded, a command, a dare. Instead, Elara tore the letter open. Paper ripped, gasps ricocheted off the stone pillars. A slant of torchlight caught her left wrist, the black rose birthmark, bared for all to see. Varen's face fractured, fear flickering across his features before anger slammed it away. He strode down the dais, boots echoing. In an instant, his grip tightened around her arm, ice through silk.
She is claimed for the Shadow Crown.
A wolf's howl split the hush, echoing from somewhere unseen. Elara tried to wrench free, but Varen's hand held fast, his eyes never leaving the black rose blooming on her skin. Marble bit at Elara's bare feet. The cold was sharp, shocking her deeper awake as High Lord Varen's hand clamped around her wrist. The echo of each footstep was swallowed by the towering corridor, floor slick as ice beneath her skin. She stumbled to keep pace, the birthmark on her wrist throbbing beneath his grip. Or was it the pulse of the court itself, hungry and watching? He didn't speak, only his jaw moved, carved lines set against the torchlight. Shadows flickered across velvet and stone, painting his figure monstrous. Behind them, the low whisper of silk skirts and urgent hisses followed. Elara turned her head. Court nobles parted, eyes darting away as if the sight of her would burn. Until one, a young woman with a braid glossy as a raven's wing, caught a glimpse of the mark on Elara's wrist. The woman recoiled as if stung. Her gloves slipped, silver rings clattering to the floor, forgotten. The corridor's hush thickened, voices choking down to silence. Varen's grip tightened. He shoved open a set of iron-barred doors. The clang rattled the glass panes, sending a tremor down the hall. Servants scurried from their path, faces blank, backs pressed hard to stone. Even the guards, armored and moon-pale, did not meet his eyes. Elara's skin prickled with unease. She dug her heels in, wrenching her arm back.
Stop. You're hurting me. What does it mean, this mark?
Varen didn't answer. He didn't even look at her. His steps were a command, not a conversation. They passed through a vaulted chamber where Lady Mirae lingered in shadows, her white-gloved fingers curled around a goblet. Her gaze slid to Elara's wrist, lingered, then flicked to Varen. She lifted her chin, lips curling.
You parade her through the halls like a warning. Is she meant to frighten us, my lord?
Varen's voice was low, lethal.
She is under my protection. Speak about her again, and I'll remember it.
Mirae's smile thinned. She watched as Varen dragged Elara onward, her eyes glinting with calculation. The corridor grew narrower, the air colder. Elara's wrist burned where his glove dug into her skin. She yanked again, voice steel-edged.
You can't just claim me. I'm not.
He stopped so suddenly she nearly collided with his back. He turned, amber eyes glinting, his hand never loosening.
You want answers? Not here. not with a dozen ears pressed to every wall.
She met his gaze, refusing to flinch. Not here, not with the cold slithering into her bones. But there was something in his stare, not just command, but warning. A door slammed behind them. The lock rasped, final and metallic. Varen released her and stepped back, chest rising and falling as if he'd been running. Her wrist prickled. She rubbed at the black rose, the skin feeling hot, exposed. In the silence, a memory flickered. A fragment, sharp as falling glass. A hand grasping hers, blood on a silver altar. A promise whispered in a language she almost remembered.
Why would they fear me? What am I to them?
Varen's jaw flexed. His answer was a single word, colder than the marble.
Dangerous.
Elara's pulse skittered. She swallowed, searching his face for a crack in the armor.
Am I dangerous to you?
He stared at her, silent, as if weighing something unspeakable. From the corridor beyond, a crash rang out, glass exploding, voices raised in alarm. Baron's head snapped toward the sound, eyes narrowing. He reached for Elara's hand, but she was already moving. The mark on her wrist burned, the pain suddenly blinding. Then someone screamed, and the sound wasn't human. Elara pressed her palm to her chest, just above where the pain had started. Sharp, burning, impossible to ignore. The chill from the stone window seat did nothing to soothe the heat spreading under her skin. She tugged at the neckline of her midnight blue gown, half expecting to find a wound. Instead, she found a patch of skin that glowed with an unearthly red. Something pulsed beneath. With trembling fingers, she traced the outline. A flower bud, blood dark, nestled above her heart. Roots thin, crimson crept outward, threading toward her collarbone and ribs. She bit back a cry. For a moment, the chamber spun. Velvet drapes, a cold silver mirror, the faint perfume of smoke and yew wood. Her pulse thundered through her veins, too fast, too loud. A shadow moved in the doorway, heavy, silent. Elara jerked, scrambling to cover her chest.
Don't bother hiding it. I know what it is.
Varen's amber gaze swept over her, lingering on the red bloom beneath her skin. He stepped inside, boots silent on the stone, the wolf ring glinting on his gloved hand.
What did you do to me?
Her voice shook with fury, but it was the fear underneath that made her voice thin. Varen watched her, as if weighing whether she was worth an answer.
If I wanted you dead, you'd be ash already. That
He gestured at the flower bud, his mouth a hard line.
is the bloom curse. It's older than this castle, and it is difficult to remove.
Elara pressed her back to the window, cold stone biting through silk. The flower pulsed. A second heartbeat, frantic.
Why? Why put this in me?
Varen's lips twisted. Something almost like regret. Or was it disgust? Flickering in his eyes.
I didn't. Someone wanted the Shadow Crown's claimant obedient, easily controlled. The curse chooses its host, but someone set it loose. Perhaps Lady Murray, perhaps someone else who fears you'll take what belongs to them.
His words drained the last heat from her limbs. She remembered Murray's icy gaze at the auction, the way her fingers lingered on that sapphire earring, as if signaling a message or issuing a threat. Elara's pulse raced. She gasped as fresh pain lanced out from the flower, the roots inching deeper, claws in her flesh. Varen watched, expression unreadable.
What does it do? How long?
That depends on you. The curse blooms by moon's turn. When it opens, your heart stops, unless you find the one who bound it and force them to break the tether. Or
His eyes lingered on her birthmark, a black rose, dark as ink against her wrist.
unless you claim the crown. But no one survived long enough to try.
A gust of icy wind rattled the panes. Elara's breath misted in the air. She met his gaze, refusing to let him see her crumble.
You think I'll give up that easily?
Varen's mouth curled, half amusement, half warning.
You're stubborn. That'll keep you alive. For now, stay in your rooms tonight. Trust no one, especially those who say they're here to help.
He turned, cloak swirling, heading for the door. Alara forced her limbs to move, stumbling after him.
Wait, what about Ash? Where is he?
Varen paused. The wolf's ring flashed in the gloom.
If your scholar friend is wise, he'll stay clear. But wisdom is rare here.
He left her with the silence and the curse thrumming beneath her ribs. Alara's gaze fixed on the silver mirror. The blood-red bud pulsed once, brighter, deeper, as if something inside it was trying to break free. A sudden knock exploded against her door. Another shadow, too slender, too quick to be Varen, moved past the threshold, bringing the sour scent of fear and ink. The black veins had crawled to Lyra's collarbone by the time Ash slipped into the castle's shadowed undercroft, boots silent on cold flagstone. The memory of her strained breathing, the petals bruising her skin, pressed him on with desperate purpose. Here, where the scent of whetstone and ink-soaked parchment mingled, every step was a risk. Lady Murray's spies rarely missed a footprint. Ash ducked beneath a candelabra, fingers brushing dust-rough brick. The passage narrowed, glass set into the walls, warped, catching torchlight and slicing it into jagged ribbons that flickered across his coat. Each mirror whispered secrets to his nerves. He forced himself to focus. The satchel on his hip, papers inside, the battered ledger listing forbidden cures. A quiet click, too deliberate, froze him. Voices filtered through the stones, thick with threat.
Check the vaults. If he's clever, he's already hiding in the walls. Tear out the panels if you must.
Ash's pulse spiked, sweat prickling under his collar. He pressed himself flat, hardly daring to breathe. Miria's footsteps retreated, sharp and impatient, but the threat hung, heavy as frostbite. He crept forward, counting his own heartbeats, scouring shelves for anything marked with a silver clasp, the sign of banned magic. His hands shook as he flipped a volume. Bloom Curse, Origins Lost to Moonblood. Not enough. He needed more than myth. A shadow flickered on the mirrored wall. Ash ducked, peering through warped glass, and flinched back, but not at his own reflection. On the other side of the mirror, a woman passed, tall, platinum hair gleaming like a river of ice, her wrist bare as her gown's sleeve slipped. The black rose birthmark, Lyra's mark here too, stood out against her pale skin. Alara! The sight snapped something taut inside him. Alara, marked like his sister. Was she victim or cursebringer? The thought sent a spike of hope and terror through his nerves. He reached toward the glass, fingers nearly brushing its rippled surface.
If you know anything about the curse, I need it. Please.
His voice was just a breath, lost between walls. Alara slowed, sensing something, but moved on, vanishing around a corner and leaving only her reflection burning in his mind. A heavy silence followed. Then, unexpectedly, a faint metallic click beneath his boot. Ash jerked back as the floor panel shifted, nearly sending him headlong into a hidden pit. Dust, stale and biting, erupted up his nose. He stifled a cough, heart rattling against his ribs. From overhead, the echo of Miray's command drifted back.
Search every passage. Don't trust the mirrors.
Ash scrambled up, snatching at the ledger as it slid toward the pit. His knuckles grazed glass, and for one wild moment, he saw not his face, but Alara's, and the rose mark pulsing black as midnight oil. Why did she carry it? Was she the reason his sister was dying, or the only one who could stop it? He stuffed the ledger into his satchel, mind whirling. Alara wasn't just a pawn. She was tangled in the curse's roots. He had to find her somehow before the next moonrise, before Miray or Varen realized what he'd seen. A new sound cracked the silence, the distant toll of the moon bell, echoing through the stones. Time slipping, the curse feeding. Ash ran, every sense burning, the taste of old copper on his tongue. Behind him, the mirrored passage glittered with secrets, and one single black rose, newly drawn in condensation, marked the glass where Alara's image had lingered. He stared, pulse stumbling. The mark hadn't been there a moment before. What did it mean? The answer was close. Close enough to touch, if he dared. If you want to know how far Ash will go, listen on. The curse had spread further overnight. When Alara lifted her sleeve, the blue-black veins of the flower's stem coiled past her collarbone, throbbing in time with each slow, aching heartbeat. Her skin was cold where the blossom's petals touched, like frost pressed to living flesh. The memory of Lady Mirai's cold smile still lingered. And now, by decree of the court, Alara and Varen were prisoners together in a moonlit suite at the castle's highest tower. 2 rooms, 1 locked door, 3 guards outside. The silence between them had teeth. Varen stood by the window, back rigid, gloved, hands braced against the dark stone, his amber gaze fixed on the snowy grounds below. She could feel the weight of his presence even from across the room, the way shadows seemed to thicken around him.
If you're here to make conversation, don't bother. I won't bite.
Varen didn't turn.
No, but others will, if you keep provoking them.
His voice was low, almost bored, but the warning in it pricked her nerves. Alara crossed to the fire, hugging her arms around herself. The room smelled faintly of cedar smoke and crushed lavender, a failed attempt to mask the iron tang of blood magic.
If you're worried I'll run, you can relax. The guards outside won't let me get far.
A pause. The wind howled distantly. Something scraped against the window, sharp and urgent. Alara shot a wary glance, half expecting to see Mirai's eyes staring back.
You think I fear for your escape?
I think you fear what I might find if I do.
That finally earned her his full attention. Varen's expression was stone, but something flickered at the edges. Not anger, but calculation. Time ticked by in brittle silence. Alara's chest started to ache, the pain blooming in slow, poisonous waves. Her hands trembled.
You still haven't told me how much it's spreading.
She sucked in a breath that caught on the pain.
Does it matter? It'll kill me either way, won't it?
Varen crossed the floor in 3 strides, sudden and silent. The old floorboards creaked under his boots. She tried to step back, but her knees buckled. The world narrowed, the fire's heat, the cold flower biting at her collarbone, Varen's gloved hand catching her elbow. He steadied her, and for an instant, his touch was almost gentle.
You're not dying. Not yet.
He drew her upright. She could smell him now, leather and wolf musk and steel, his grip fierce and steady. Alara glared at him, too proud to flinch.
Why do you care? I'm just a threat to you, aren't I?
Varen's jaw tightened.
You're not dying.
He said it like an oath. Then, softer, barely audible over the snap of the fire.
I won't let you.
A shadow passed across the window, too large to be a raven, too silent to be a guard. Alara's heart thudded, vision sharp and bright with panic, as the shape paused outside the glass. The handle of the door rattled behind them. By the time dawn's gray light seeped through the frost-misted tower glass, agony had rooted itself deep in Alara's chest. The flower, the curse, had bloomed its first scarlet petal against her pale skin. She pressed trembling fingers to her collarbone, feeling the throb, a pulse that was not her own, wild and hungry. Each breath scraped raw, as if thorns had blossomed beneath her ribs. It had been silent for hours. Even the wind kept its secrets. But footsteps now echoed up the spiral stairs, measured, heavy, too slow to be a servant. Alara yanked the velvet gown higher over her shoulder, hiding the mark. She forced her posture straight, though her vision flickered at the edges. Pride was armor, even when it fit too tight. Varen appeared in the doorway, his coat still buttoned, morning stubble dark on his jaw. He looked her up and down, gazed lingering a heartbeat too long.
You're pale. Paler than usual.
The urge to spit back at him, to snarl, faltered under the pain.
I'm fine. Not that it concerns you.
She managed a tilt of her chin, daring him to push. The lie tasted like iron. He stepped closer, close enough she could smell the smoke and winter air clinging to his coat.
If you were fine, you wouldn't be shaken.
His gloved hand hovered at her arm, then dropped. A flicker of something too sharp to be sympathy crossed his face.
I need you strong, Elara. Don't force me to intervene.
The word intervene set her teeth on edge. But she would not beg for his pity, not with that first petal burning against her heart, draining her by the hour.
Save your threats. I don't need you or anyone.
Her voice cracked just slightly, and she cursed herself for it. He gave a thin, humorless smile.
We'll see.
He turned on his heel and strode out, boots echoing on the cold stone. When the door shut, she let her facade crumble. The pain twisted sharper for the lie, as if the curse itself punished pride. Her limbs felt hollow, knees trembling with every step. She made it to the narrow writing desk, hands clutching the edge to steady herself. A flick of movement caught her eye, a slip of folded paper wedged beneath the door, so light it had not made a sound. She snatched it up, pulse thudding in her throat. The handwriting was cramped, hurried. Ash's hand. She scanned it, lips barely moving.
I know about the bloom. We need to talk. Tonight, don't trust anyone. A?
The world lurched sideways. Ash, the scholar from the Undercroft, the only one who looked at her without hunger or suspicion. He knew. The secret was slipping from her grasp like melting ice. A shadow drifted across the corridor outside. Elara flattened the note in her palm, sharp panic breaking through the haze. Voices came, Mireille's, cool as glass, slicing through the hush.
She grows weaker. If she falters, the court will tear itself apart. Is that what you want?
A murmur in reply, too low to catch. Elara's spine stiffened. Every instinct screamed to hide, to run, but her body would not obey. The flower in her chest unfurled another fraction, sending a fresh lance of pain through her bones. She pressed her fist to her heart, gritting her teeth. She could handle this. She had to. Pride was everything she had left. A cold draft snaked across her bare feet, and the room's silence shattered. A sharp, metallic clatter against the window. She spun, senses on a blade's edge. Outside, pinned against the frost-glazed glass, was a single black feather, and beneath it, a glimmer of silver, a second note, twisted tight, waiting to be claimed. The curse had crept to Elara's collarbone by dusk, its black tendrils threading beneath her skin, stiffening her arm, tightening her breath beneath the midnight blue silk. Each heartbeat sent a dull ache radiating up her neck. In the grand hall, candlelight flickered over tables piled with roasted fowl, honeyed wine, and platters veiled in steam, but all Elara could taste was iron and ash. The nobles circled her like hounds, scenting a wounded stag. Every glance lingered on the mark above her heart, every laugh sharpened to a dare. Ash lingered near a marble pillar, notebook nearly hidden inside his coat, eyes darting between her and the exits. A scholar misplaced among predators. A hush fell. Someone dropped a fork. The clatter rang out, and the attention of the court locked on Elara. She could feel the weight of it. Curiosity tinged with something hungrier. Lady Mireille slipped into her orbit. The scent of violets, frost, and the faintest metallic undertone. Her gloved hand brushed Elara's wrist, deliberately tracing the edge of the black rose birthmark.
How disappointing. A crown's claimant, and yet you tremble.
Elara met her gaze, jaw tight.
You mistake restraint for fear.
Mireille's smile was a threat, dressed as courtesy.
And you mistake Varen's protection for affection. You think he'll save you? Prisoners here don't walk free. not even in velvet.
Her grip tightened. Elara's pulse thudded under the pressure, but she refused to flinch. She caught movement in the corner of her eye, a shadow lingering in the doorway, there and gone, colder than the rest. On the dais, Varen surveyed the hall, face unreadable. When his gaze met hers, he looked through her, not a flicker of recognition, just the cold dismissal of an object. The noble's whispers grew teeth. A burly wolf lord moved to intercept Ash as he approached. The lord's hand landed heavy on Ash's shoulder, halting him mid-step.
Bookworm, step lightly, or you might get trampled.
Ash stiffened, voice strained.
She's...
The wolf lord leaned in, breath hot and feral.
Not your hunt, scholar. Stay out of it.
Torches guttered, and a sudden wave of heat prickled along Elara's arms. The scent of singed fur, magic rising like a warning. She froze, every sense screaming danger, but the court seemed to relish her discomfort. Varen's voice rang out, smooth and glacial.
The claimant speaks to no one. She is under the crown's scrutiny.
He turned away. The court's whispers swelled, weaving stories she could not control. For an instant, Elara caught Varen's eyes, a flicker of apology buried beneath the ice. The truth struck her. The letter that brought her here? The distance, even the disdain, each was a shield crafted in secrecy, but protection in this court always demanded a price. Lady Murray leaned in, her lips barely brushing Elara's ear.
You're a shadow passing through borrowed halls. I don't share what's mine.
A gust of chill wind snuffed several candles. Darkness pressed close. Elara's skin prickled with the certainty. In this den of wolves, isolation could kill as swiftly as any blade. If only she knew what Moreo was truly afraid to lose. And if only she dared name what, in the end, she might lose herself. The curse had crept farther overnight. When Elara pressed her palm to her collarbone, she felt the raised edge of the petal beneath her gown. Sharper, colder, its roots threading deeper, pulsing with each heartbeat like a warning drum no one else could hear. Her grip on the candle shook as she followed Ash through the library's labyrinth, past shelves crowded with dust-draped volumes and secrets thick in the air. He didn't speak until the hush swallowed even their footsteps. At a wall of crumbling stone, he paused, fingers dancing over faded runes. The hidden latch yielded with a gritty click. A gap yawned open. Old air curled out, thick with the scent of mildew and dying paper. Inside, the passage narrowed. Elara pressed close behind him, close enough she could see ink stains on his cuffs, smell the cedar and ink of his coat. There was a battered writing desk here, littered with scrawls, diagrams, and petals black as midnight. Ash's voice was strained, almost too low.
This is where I work. No one else knows. Sit, please.
She didn't, not at first. The chill of stone seeped through her slippers. Elara's gaze swept the tangled notes, the sketches of open chests, flowers blooming where hearts should be.
How much have you found?
He pushed his spectacles up, avoiding her eyes.
Enough to wish I hadn't.
He slid a paper toward her. The diagram showed someone's chest, a cruel flower blooming over the heart, roots sinking deep. Next to it, a single line scratched in desperate ink. The only cure, removal by a loved one. All memory and affection lost, forever. The words scraped raw across her thoughts.
So if I want to live, someone I care for must.
Her voice broke before she could finish. She clamped her mouth shut, pulse thumping so loud it drowned out sense. Ash's hands trembled as he gathered a stray petal and crushed it between his fingers.
Not just care, love. The spell only yields if it's true. They cut out the flower, the wound heals, but it takes all the feelings with it. Clean as a knife, you survive, you forget you ever loved them. They remember everything.
A stifling silence settled. It tasted of panic, of endings.
Who would agree to that, even if?
He cut her off, voice harsh.
My sister doesn't have a choice. She's dying. Like you.
The revelation landed between them, sharp as glass. Elara searched his face, the smudged exhaustion, the red rims of his eyes, the way he hid his clenched fists behind stacks of books.
Is that why you're helping me?
He glanced up, finally meeting her stare.
If I find a way for you, I find a way for her. And if not, maybe one of you lives, maybe neither. I'm out of time.
Elara reached for the diagram, her fingers ghosting over the inked petals. Something new flickered in her chest. Not hope, not anger, but a sullen ache. Both their lives tangled in roots, neither had chosen. A sound, the faint scuff of a slipper beyond the door. Ash stiffened. Papers slid to the floor.
Did you hear?
The latch scraped. Cold torchlight spilled in, slicing through the gloom. Lady Mirea's silhouette filled the doorway, eyes glinting.
How touching. Plotting in the dark, are we?
Elara's skin prickled. The curse throbbed, demanding.
Let's talk about secrets. All of them.
The second petal unfurled at midnight. Elara felt it before she saw it. A spasm, sharp as a knife, twisted beneath her ribs. The black rose above her heart pulsed. 2 petals now open, dark and glossy as spilled ink. Her heartbeat skittered, thin as a moth's wing. She tried to rise, failed. The velvet rug seemed to drag her downward, cold creeping into her bones. Another night, stolen by the curse. Wind shuddered at the windows. Somewhere in the depths of the castle, a clock tolled. Elara pressed her palm against the rose-shaped birthmark on her wrist, desperate for warmth. Her skin was icy. Her breaths came shallow and uneven. A door slammed, not hers, but close enough to make her flinch. Footsteps. Then Varen's silhouette filled the doorway, his coat dusted with frost, eyes raw gold in the firelight.
You're on the floor.
His voice held no surprise, but something in it broke. Just a crack. He strode to her, kneeling with the grace of someone unused to gentleness, gloved hands hovering. Elara found the strength to glare.
If you're here to gloat, don't bother. I hardly need an audience.
He stripped off one glove, the silver wolf ring glinting as he reached to touch her jaw. His fingers were warm, calloused, a living contrast to her chill.
Your pulse is fading.
Does it matter to you?
For a moment, he didn't answer. The fire cracked, sending a gust of smoke and cedar into the air. He gave in, muttering something like a curse, and swept her up, crossing to the hearth. The motion spun the world, but she refused to close her eyes. Varen settled her on the rug before the flames, then sat beside her, uncharacteristically close. She could smell midnight blue brocade, leather, the faint, metallic tang of his pendant.
Stay awake. The curse's second stage is unpredictable.
Neither spoke for a time. Flickering light painted his features in stark lines. Elara's teeth chattered. She hugged her knees, tension in every muscle, fighting to keep her thoughts clear.
How many petals does it have?
6, but you'd know that if you'd listened.
Maybe I stopped listening because you only ever give half the truth.
His jaw flexed, but he said nothing. She heard his breath, steady, measured, so close now she could count each exhale.
If you're trying to provoke me, it's working.
She almost smiled. It was easier somehow to fight him than to think about dying. Sleep would not come. Whenever Elara drifted, pain snapped her awake. Once she felt his hand steady her shoulder. Once his coat was draped over her, heavy with the scent of ash and winter. She shivered and he didn't move away. In the silence, something shifted. Old hostilities softened just for tonight. When morning threatened the windows, Elara's eyes caught a glint near the hearth. A scrap of indigo silk, dropped and overlooked. Lady Mirea's colors. Had she been here? Elara's heart stuttered. She reached for the silk, and frost bit the tips of her fingers. The third petal had split open over Elara's heart before dawn, black as ink, its edges fever hot beneath the thin silk of her gown. Every step sent a raw ache through her ribs. She kept her chin high as the grand hall filled, each movement scraping at the bruise blooming beneath her skin. Candles guttered in the marble sconces, throwing wild shadows up the carved walls. Nobles in silver and midnight clustered near the dais, their laughter brittle, scented with musk and suspicion. Ash lingered at the row of pillars, fingers tracing the brass buckle on his satchel, eyes darting everywhere but her. He mouthed something she couldn't catch. Her pulse thudded, sour and uneven, in her throat. High Lord Varen claimed the center of the marble floor, his velvet coat swallowing the light, unreadable gaze fixed on the gathered council. Elara could feel the weight of his attention, not gentle, but anchoring, a silent command to stand. The curse stirred. Heat licked up her spine. She tasted iron. Lady Myriel swept forward, each step measured, silk whispering. She paused where Elara stood, her gaze bright as frost.
You look pale, my dear. The court must be exhausting. Or is it something deeper?
The words crawled under Elara's skin. She opened her mouth, ready to fire back, but the pain seized her mid-breath. A sudden sharp twist, then blood spilled onto her lip, bitter and hot. Gasps rattled through the assembly. Someone coughed. A ring slid from trembling fingers, clattering against the marble. She pressed her palm to her chest. The fabric tore under her grasp, revealing the black rose blooming over her heart. 3 petals now, glistening with a thin sheen of blood.
Elara, are you...
He moved toward her. Varan's hand shot out, halting him without a word. Lady Mirae's voice cut through the uproar, cold and precise.
Behold, counselors, the would-be Shadow Crown carries a curse in full bloom. How long has she been hiding it? How long has your lord risked us all?
The hall erupted. Whispers, accusations, the sharp tang of fear swelling beneath perfume and wax. Elara's knees wobbled, but she locked them, defiance hardening her spine. She would not collapse in front of these wolves. Varen stepped forward, his presence swallowing the noise. Even Mirae tensed. Elara watched him, searching for calculation, for cruelty. Yet his eyes were fixed on her, not the council.
You smell blood and think you know the story. This curse was forced on her, not chosen. No risk to the council will outweigh my judgment. She stands under my protection.
He spoke not as a plea, but a decree. The court quieted. For a moment, Elara felt the heat of his defense and hated herself for the flicker of reluctant gratitude beneath her bruised pride. Lady Mirae's lips twisted.
Your protection? Is that what you call endangering your people for? Sentiment?
Careful, Myrae. Your tongue is sharp, but your memory is short. I remember who first invoked the old magics.
A ripple of unease. Mirae blinked, glancing away. Elara watched with satisfaction, but then saw the glint of something else in Mirae's eyes. Not defeat. Calculation. Ash inched closer, clutching a handkerchief. His voice was low, frantic.
You should sit. Please. You're bleeding.
Elara wiped her mouth, the blood sticky on her fingers. She straightened, refusing the handkerchief.
I'm not your fragile secret. Let them look. Let them see what this court does to those it fears.
Half the nobles shrank back, uncertain. A few looked at her with something almost like admiration. Varen's gloved hand rested against her back. Not gentle, but steadying. For a heartbeat, their bodies leaned together. She caught the scent of cold iron and cedar, heard the soft intake of his breath. He leaned in, his words a murmur only she could hear.
Stand with me. Show them you are not broken.
I don't need your approval.
But she stayed at his side. Lady Mirae's laughter, brittle as shattered glass, broke the hush.
A tainted claimant and a blind protector. The Midnight Realm deserves better.
Varen's reply was an oath, low and volcanic.
She is under my shield. Any threat to her is a threat to my throne. Let them try me.
The nobles tensed, some with hunger, some with horror. Elara's blood smeared against the marble. The third petal pulsed, alive and venomous, beneath the torn silk. A muffled cry echoed from the far end of the chamber. Then the door slammed wide, cold wind carrying the scent of burning parchment. Too late. Elara saw the shredded black ribbon at Lady Marae's wrist, identical to the one from the ritual chamber. She spun to Varen, voice jagged with panic.
Varen, the curse isn't just mine.
4 petals now, opened, black as coal, pressing into her skin just below the collarbone. The 4th had curled back at dawn, each heartbeat a flicker of fever beneath her gown. Elara pressed her palm to the throbbing bloom as Varen guided her, silent beneath the spectral branches of the moon garden. Frost-laced roses clung to twisted silver stems. The air was sharp with old magic. She tasted metal at the back of her tongue, sharp as bitten copper. Her vision wavered at the edges. The world kept trying to tilt. He stopped at the garden's center, under the antlered shadows of a dead willow. The stone pedestal between them glimmered with ancient runes.
I once brought someone here to die.
His voice was quieter than she'd ever heard. Not cold, just stripped bare. She tried to glare, but even that took effort.
If you think I'll thank you for the privilege.
It's not a threat. Listen.
She did, heart pounding out of rhythm. The only sounds were his breath and the distant hollow cry of a wolf. Not close, not far. He pulled off his glove, flexing long fingers. A silver scar circled his wrist. When he spoke, it was to the stones.
When the curse takes you, if it kills you, I lose myself. The beast inside me wins. No mind, no restraint. All I am, unbound.
A pause, fraught and rattling.
Convenient. If I die, you've an excuse for every monstrous thing you've ever wanted to do.
He looked up sharply, amber eyes almost gold in the moonlight. Something raw slipped through.
You think I asked for this? The spell's old magic. Bloodbound. Our fate's tied long before you ever set foot in my realm. If you go, I go. There's no winning for either of us.
Her pulse kicked, a strange ache winding through her ribs. Not all of it pain. His words pressed in, too close, too intimate.
You could have told me.
Would you have believed me?
She nearly laughed. The sound caught, turning brittle. Her hand hovered between them, inches from his bare wrist. His breath stirred the fine hairs on her skin. The moon emerged fully, lighting the frost. For a heartbeat, there was nothing but the space between their hands. Her vision narrowed, every sense sharpened to the lines of his mouth, the rise and fall of his chest. She didn't remember moving, but she was close enough to feel his heat.
Who did this? Was it you? Did you curse me?
A footfall behind the hedge, deliberate, heavy. The petals under her skin seared, nerves going electric. Varen tensed, hand darting for her arm.
Don't move.
Ash stepped out from the gloom, spectacles askew, ink smeared on his jaw. He held a thin slip of parchment in one shaking hand, and the moonlight caught a single name scrawled in blood across the page. The name was Lady Marae's. The world snapped tight. Elara's heart spasmed. The 4th petal burned, and her next breath went ragged.
She's not just watching, she's the one who bound it.
Her knees nearly buckled. The garden rang with silent accusation, and Varen's grip on her arm was iron, unreadable. Then, from the shadows beyond the willow, a second set of footsteps. Someone else was there, watching. Elara's vision split, sound spiked, breath roaring in her ears. She spun, ready to fight, but the garden air had gone razor sharp, and a voice she did not know whispered her name. The black veins of the bloom curse pressed higher across Ash's sister's drawing in his waistcoat pocket. A crude talisman, the paper worn thin where his thumb rubbed it raw. In the corridor behind the court's winter gallery, frost ghosted the stone, and the air stank of spilled ink, wilting lavender, and something acid. Guilt, too. The echo of Murray's heels was the only rhythm. Ash's palms sweated inside his gloves, but he forced them steady as the latch gave way. Lady Murray had summoned him at dusk. He'd come alone. She stood at the window, outlined in silver. Her ice blue eyes didn't blink.
You're late, Ash.
His voice scraped out, low.
You said you had the antidote. For her. For Isolde.
The faintest curl of her mouth. Her gloved hand produced a tiny crystal vial, a swirl of opalescent liquid that caught the dying light.
It will slow the curse, not cure. You want more? You know what I require.
Ash's fingers tightened on the satchel. He tasted copper, bargain or doom. He cleared his throat.
The corridor behind the library. West wall, 7th panel. There's a lever hidden under a loose tile. Leads straight to Ilara's chambers. Past the old wolf statues.
Lady Murray's gaze sharpened. Satisfied, dangerous.
You should have asked what I intend to do with her.
A sick silence. Ash's pulse hammered in his ears.
I didn't. She helped me. She's not.
No one is innocent here. Not even you.
He flinched. The scent of lavender grew cloying, nauseating.
You want her safe? Warn her yourself, if you dare.
She pressed the vial into his palm. Her glove brushed his fingers, cold as snowmelt.
Love always tears something from you, Ash. First the truth, then the person.
He stared at the antidote, weighing nothing yet heavy as stone. He almost ran, but footsteps approached. Ilara's voice, sharp with fear, from the far end.
Ash, what are you doing here?
His mind blanked. Mireille was already gone, a shadow among tapestry folds. Ilara's face was pale, eyes wide, one hand pressed to her ribs, where the third petal must be burning beneath her gown. He tried to speak, but his voice tangled.
Is it true? Did you tell her about the passage?
He couldn't meet her gaze. His fingers clenched around the vial, glass biting skin.
I had no choice.
You always have a choice.
The corridor seemed to shrink, air thick and stifling. Guilt tasted bitter on his tongue. Somewhere, a bell tolled. 1, 2, 3. A warning or a summons. Impossible to tell. He forced himself to look up, just as Ilara's shadow stretched long across the stones. And there, behind her, a low voice, not Mireille's, cold as a winter grave.
Step aside, Ash. Now.
The 5th petal had unfurled by midnight, black, glistening, its edges bitten crimson beneath Ilara's skin. Each breath was a blade, slicing through silk and sinew. Her silk gown clung, heavy with sweat. The curse's throbbing heat fuzzed the world's edges. Torches blurred into constellations above the court's marble. The throne room stank of incense and old blood. Nobles ringed the dais, eyes shining silver in the half-light. The room was too bright, too loud. Every footstep, every rasp of breath from the wolves making her flinch. Chains cold as river ice bound her wrists. Mireille's shadow cut across polished stone. Silence splintered as Mireille stepped forward. Fingertips gloved. Voice a soft knife.
Bring the accused.
2 masked guards dragged Ilara to her knees. Her pulse hammered in her skull. The 5th petal pulsed. She tasted iron.
This is the usurper who poisoned our bloodline. She wears the mark. She dared the Shadow Crown's curse. What sentence does the court demand?
Murmurs, vicious and sweet, rippled through the assembly. Ilara tried to look up, could not. Vision tunneled, only Mireille's pale face, ice blue eyes, hungry for the kill. Ash's voice, desperate, broke through the haze.
No, this isn't justice. The curse was...
Silence, scholar. Your turn will come.
Ash's words snapped tight, his fists white-knuckled around his satchel. No savior here. A throne creaked. Suddenly, Varen's boots struck the marble, echoing louder than the jeers. His face was carved iron, amber eyes catching torchlight, jaw clenched hard enough to crack teeth.
If you're so certain, Mireille, let the Wolf's Law decide. Let her speak.
You risk the loyalty of your own court for this? For her?
a ripple of unease, a falter in the wolf's hunger. Baron's gaze snapped to Alara, raw and unyielding.
I will not kill for lies. If you want to hunt, Mireille, come at me yourself.
His hand closed over Ilara's shackled wrist, the touch seared. For a heartbeat, she hated him for making her feel alive at the edge of dying. Mireille's lips twitched. Her voice was almost kind.
You damn yourself for her. Not even the Shadow Crown can save traitors.
The court broke. Snarls rose. Claws scraped stone. Someone lunged. Varen was already moving, dragging Alara behind his shield of black velvet and steel. Pain made her stumble, but she gripped his arm, breath ragged.
Let them try. I stand for her. Anyone who wants her blood comes to me.
Sweat trickled down her spine. Her vision sharpened to colors too bright. Red, gold, black. Ash shouted. Someone was screaming. Chains bit as guards pulled, Varen's grip burning against her bruised skin. All around, the court erupted. Wolves shifting, teeth bared, the smell of magic and fur sickening in her nose. The fifth petal flared, and she knew, with a sick certainty, the next would be her last.
Stop them. Bring me her heart.
Steel flashed, voices blurred, and Alara saw for the first time blood streaking Varen's glove. The world reeled, spinning out of her grasp as the sound of shattering glass split the night. The sixth petal had torn itself open above Ilara's heart, raw black uncoiling beneath her skin, pulsing with every labored breath. Each step sent a sharp, burning jolt up her side. The passage stank of cold stone and old iron. Her bare feet left faint smears on the flagstones, darker than shadow. Varen's hand kept her upright. His grip was all tension, too tight, as if she'd vanish if he let go. Behind them, Ash's footsteps flickered like nervous heartbeats.
Faster. Please, we have to.
The corridor bent left. Pale torchlight glimmered ahead, the supposed way out. Elara's lungs were shriveled coals. Her mouth tasted of blood and panic. A click, a shudder. In the bricks, the ache in her chest throbbed with warning. Varen froze. He glanced at Ash and finally saw the sweat shining at his hairline, the nervous twitch of his jaw.
You said this was safe.
Ash couldn't meet his gaze.
It was supposed to be. She promised.
The torchlight thickened, steel boots scraped, echoing off stone. Mireille's guard stepped from the gloom, cloaks stitched with the indigo sash, blades drawn. Their faces were blank, eyes fixed on Alara.
Drop the dagger, Ash. Enough lies.
Lady Mireille appeared behind her soldiers, calm as ever. The faint scar on her throat caught the light. More accusation than decoration. Alara tasted betrayal on her tongue. The curse's sixth petal pulsed, black veins spidering above her heart. She looked at Ash. His shoulders shook. The silver ring on his left hand gleamed as he raised his palm, pleading, not fighting.
You let us hear.
Ash's voice broke, thin and desperate.
They have my sister. Alara, I tried to warn you.
A guard lunged. Varen's snarl rattled the air. He shoved Alara behind him and met the oncoming blade. Steel screeched. Bronze sparks flared. Alara stumbled, vision tunneling. Her wrist brushed stone, the black rose birthmark burning as she pressed her palm against the wall, trying to stay upright. Blood slicked her side. The wound bloomed hot, coppery, wrong.
Stay with me. Don't.
Someone grabbed her arm, iron hard, the world shrinking to the reek of sweat and steel. Mireille's gloved hand closed on Alara's shoulder, nails pressing through silk.
She doesn't get past this gate. Not alive.
Varen's wolf surged beneath his skin, eyes gone molten gold. He roared, ripping free of human restraint. The sound made the torches flicker. Half shifted, monstrous. Guards faltered. But Mireille did not. Ash crumpled to his knees. voice cracking.
Stop. Don't hurt her. I did what you asked. Please.
Elara's pulse stuttered. The world blurred at the edges, colors leaching away. Her thoughts splintered. Varen's name, the taste of betrayal, the cold ache of dying. Mireille pulled Elara close, ice blue eyes inches from hers.
He'll rip this castle apart for you, or watch you bleed for nothing. Which will it be, Petal Girl?
Varen's hand seized Elara's, shaking so violently it hurt. His voice was a growl, barely human.
If you touch her again, I'll...
A guard's blade flashed. Pain tore through Elara's side. Hot liquid drenched her gown. The sixth petal curled open over her heart, black and glistening. Elara's scream fractured the silence, and somewhere beneath the stone, something ancient began to wake. The final petal had begun to unfurl over Elara's heart, pale and black-veined against her skin where her gown had slipped. Her arms ached from the cold bite of silver shackles bolted into stone. Each breath rasped, ragged, flecks of iron on her tongue. The world beyond the cell blurred at the edges, torchlight smeared, voices muffled, the stink of damp stone and old blood thick in her throat. Varen stood at the threshold, shadow stretching across the straw-littered floor. His gloves were gone. She'd never seen his hands bare. Knuckles white, nails bitten, veins abrupt beneath pale skin. Amber eyes rimmed with exhaustion held hers for a moment too long. He didn't speak. The silence clawed at Elara's chest, sharper than pain. She curled her fingers inward, nails digging into her palms, forcing herself to stay upright. She tried for defiance, but her voice caught, thin as frost.
Come to watch me die, then? I thought even you might have the decency to let me alone.
Varen's shoulders twitched, as if the words struck something brittle inside him. He stepped into the cell, boots leaving muddy crescents across the flagstones.
Stop pretending you're made of ice. It's always a lie with you.
She jerked her chin up, every muscle screaming.
And you, always so certain, so above it. Tell me, does it cost you anything at all, watching them break me piece by piece?
He knelt. The chain rattled and she flinched, but he only rested one hand, warm, trembling, over hers. For a heartbeat, neither of them breathed.
I can't watch this. Not you.
His voice cracked, not anger, not command, just sound torn from someone stripped of armor. His head bowed, hair falling loose around his scar. She saw it then, the way he shook, the blood crusted on his cuff, where he must have punched stone or flesh, the shallow hitch in his throat.
I thought, if I stayed away, if I kept the world sharp and cold, this wouldn't hurt. I was wrong.
The words fell between them, heavy as iron. Elara's skin prickled, fevered and cold, the curse pulsing in counterpoint to her own stuttering pulse. She tried to pull her hand back, but his fingers closed, desperate.
Don't do that. You're not alone.
She stared at him as the chains burned. Her lungs felt full of ash.
It's too late. Look at me, Varen. I'm dying.
The final petal split, slick with her blood. The pain was sharp, cold, then almost nothing at all. He cursed, low and broken, and pressed his forehead to her wrist, to the black rose birthmark blooming with the poison of the curse.
I can't lose you. I will not let you slip through my hands. Tell me how to fix this. Tell me what you want, Elara. Please.
Shock, Varen pleading, the wolf brought to his knees. It didn't fit any story she had ever been told. She wanted to laugh or scream.
I want you, idiot. I want you to stop pretending you're the monster they made you.
She gripped his hand, fingers slick from fever sweat and blood, nails marking his skin. His breath was a wet shudder.
If I lose you, there's nothing left. Do you hear me? Nothing. Not court, not crown, not any of it.
The curse pulsed. Cold radiated up her arm, turning the world thin and silver. Elara dragged him closer. Their foreheads touched, desperate as prayer.
I choose you, Varen. Even if it kills me, even if it...
He kissed her, rough, clumsy, a collision more than an embrace. Salt, sweat, blood, warmth. She pressed into him, her chains biting, not caring. The world narrowed to skin, heat, breath. The bloom at her heart flared with agony. She held on anyway. His hands cupped her face, frantic, as if touch alone could hold her to life.
Stay. Please, stay.
A crack split the silence, stone breaking, metal warping. Elara's pulse stuttered. The scent of burning roses filled the air. Then the door behind Varen slammed open, and the voice that spoke made everything else, love, pain, hope, drop away at once.
Step aside, Varen. The hour has come.
The seventh petal unfurled at dusk, a wet pop like bruised fruit splitting open. Elara's chest burned as if a white-hot dagger had rooted where her heart should be. Her skin was clammy against the midnight blue silk of her ruined gown. She pressed trembling fingers to her chest. 7 petals now, all black rimed with silver veins. The air hung heavy with the metallic tang of blood and wilted roses. Ash's hand hovered over her shoulder, useless, shaking. His spectacles were streaked, eyes wide as coin moons. Across the ruined marble, Lady Marae smiled, her ice-blue gaze fixed on Elara's agony.
You want the real cure? Ask Ash. He clawed it out of his own chest to save his sister. Someone who loves you, they have to cut it out themselves. And when they do, you forget everything you ever felt for them. Clean slate. That's all the mercy you get.
The words crawled through the air. Elara's vision guttered. At the edges, Ash's mouth moved, but no sound came. Only Varen stood steady, black velvet battered with ash and blood, jaw clenched, eyes the color of dying embers.
There has to be another way. There has to be...
Enough. Give me the blade.
Elara groped for him, her throat raw. Varen's gloved hand caught hers, hard and cold. His voice was stripped bare. No armor left.
Look at me.
He pressed the dagger, old, silver, still sticky from the last ritual, into his own palm. Elara's pulse thundered in her ears. 7 petals pulsed black red through the thin silk. He knelt beside her, gauntleted fingers brushing her cheek with terrifying gentleness.
Don't. I remember before all of this. You hated me.
No, I envied you. I needed you.
He stopped, his breath shuddered. The blade hovered over her heart. Ash's voice cracked, desperate.
Varen, please, at least let her...
She'll live. That's all that matters.
The silver pressed to her skin, searing cold. Elara tried to pull away, but Varen pinned her with the weight of his body, the familiar scent of midnight and wolf fur all around her. Her body betrayed her, weak and shaking.
If you do this, I won't know you. I won't.
I know.
He cut. The pain was blinding. A scream trapped behind her teeth. She felt each layer, skin, then the curse, then something deeper, a root torn from her soul. The black blossom came free, slick with her blood. Varen caught it before it touched the ground, his hands red. The world tilted. For a heartbeat, Elara saw his face, raw and unguarded, and something in her broke. A rush of memories. Varen's hand at her back in the moonlit corridor. The coldness that was only armor. His voice at dawn when he thought she slept. Gone, erased instant by instant, petals falling backward in time. Elara blinked. The ache in her chest faded, but a hollowness took its place. Varen knelt over her, shadowed eyes searching her face. She stared back, blank. Why did he look so devastated? Lady Marae's footsteps echoed, her mouth twisting in a satisfied curve.
Romantic, isn't it? Love is always the price.
A single drop of blood fell from Varen's palm onto the white marble. She awoke on cold linen, the weight on her chest gone. Air sharp with the bite of spent smoke, and winter stones slipped through the cracked window. Elara's left wrist, where the black rose had once bloomed like a warning, was now bare, skin unmarked, strange in its smoothness. But stranger still, the hollow in her mind. She searched for the pain, the curse, the thread she'd clung to, and found only silence. A gap where something vital had once lived. Movement beside her. Ash sat slumped at her bedside, spectacles askew, forest green waistcoat rumpled, his hands trembling as they toyed with a loose strap of his satchel. His eyes, usually darting with anxious wit, were rimmed dark and glistening.
Elara?
She blinked at him, words slow to come, tongue heavy. His name floated up, oddly weightless.
Ash, that's right, isn't it?
His breath stuttered, relief and pain in equal measure. He tried to smile, but it faltered, mouth twisting.
Yeah, you know me. That's good. Do you feel all right?
She flexed her fingers. No ache, no fever, no shadow of the petals that had once crept across her skin. But inside, a different ache gnawed, shapeless and raw. Something was missing. Someone.
I feel empty, like I lost a piece of myself in the dark. Was anyone else here?
The question made Ash's hands clench. His eyes flicked to the far side of the room. There, by the frost-laced window, a man stood, broad shoulders rigid beneath a black velvet coat, hair as dark as a raven's wing. He did not turn. The moonlight threw his face into shadow, outlining only the set of his jaw and the glint of a silver wolf ring on his glove. A pulse of longing surged in Elara's chest, sudden, piercing, directionless. She stared at the stranger, searching for a name, a memory, a reason. Her heart gave such a silent cry. Nothing came, only the faintest echo, the feeling of warmth by a fire, laughter hidden between walls, a promise whispered in another life. Ash's voice was shaky, breaking the spell.
He stayed all night, after the ritual, didn't say a word. I think he cared. A lot.
Who is he?
Ash hesitated, studying her with mingled pity and grief.
It doesn't matter now. The curse is broken. You're safe, Elara. That's what counts.
But she wasn't whole. She pressed her palm to her chest, feeling for a heartbeat that once fluttered at the sound of a name she could no longer recall. Emptiness answered her. She forced herself to look away from the man at the window as he finally moved, his footsteps heavy, deliberate. He passed without a glance, disappearing into the corridor with the hush of someone exiled from his own story. Ash reached for her hand, his grip warming her chill skin as if trying to draw her back to herself.
I'm here. I'll help you remember the rest if you want to. Or we can leave it behind.
She nodded, though the ache sharpened. She had survived, but love, whatever shape it had worn, was dust and shadow, a story told to someone else. The cost was final. The court's power games had devoured more than memories. They had hollowed something essential from her. Just then, a flicker by the hearth. A lone black petal drifted down, spinning through the fire's last breath, landing at her bare feet. Beneath it, the edge of a torn parchment peeked from the ash. The lines on it, not quite words, not quite runes, pulsed faintly in the gloom. If you can bear emptiness, you can bear anything. But some things return. For the end of the Shadow Crown, listen on. The final secret is waiting. The throne room glittered with too much light. Silver torches burned at every pillar, their flames reflected in the marble floors, making Elara's eyes sting. The court had assembled in rippling cloaks, wolves behind jeweled masks. They watched her, as if she were both queen and ghost. Every movement tugged at the ache inside her. No curse throbbed now on her skin. The petals were gone, the black veins erased. but something colder lingered deep beneath her ribs. When the moonlight slipped through stained glass and touched her skin, it left a hollow ache echoing through bone and memory.
You don't have to stand for all this.
Ash hovered at her side, worry flickering behind his gold-rimmed spectacles, his fingers smudged with ink, always half wanting to reach for her arm, always stopping just shy.
Someone has to. Let them see I survived.
Ash's voice dropped, barely more than a syllable, but she caught the edge of it.
You remember anything from before?
A pause, a sharp, unfillable loss. There were shapes in her mind, laughter beneath dark branches, the heat of another's hand, fury and longing braided together, but they slipped away if she tried to seize them.
Only shadows, nothing that matters.
Lady Morel glided forward, her silhouette sharp as a knife, her eyes cold as ice, swept over Ilara with a calculating calm.
The realm expects strength, not sentiment. You won't falter, will you? Not after all this.
Ilara straightened the silk of her gown, whispering over stone. She met Mireille's gaze, unblinking.
If I fall, it won't be in front of you.
A faint smirk curved Mireille's mouth. Admiration or warning, impossible to say. The ceremony crawled by, names announced, pledges made, the weight of the crown hovering above her. When she was finally alone, or nearly, she lingered in the antechamber, cold air prickling her skin. There, on the obsidian table, was a single black rose, fresh. Its velvet petals shimmered dark as midnight. No note, only a thin trail of silver powder leading to an open window. Curtains stirring. Her hand trembled as she reached for it. The scent was unfamiliar, but something in her chest twisted sharply, a longing with no name. She pressed the bloom to her lips, hoping for a memory, but only the ache remained. Beneath the rose was a folded scrap of parchment, edges singed. She turned it over, expecting nothing, but the words, jagged hurried, made her heart stumble. The throne is not safe. Trust no one beneath the shadow crown. A footstep echoed behind her. Ilara turned, the letter clutched in shaking hands, just as the torchlight flickered, casting a second shadow across the stone. Someone else was in the room. Thank you for listening to this story. I hope you found the journey through the Midnight Realm as haunting and beautiful as I did. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and give a like, and let me know in the comments which moment stayed with you most. Wishing you moonlit dreams, and until next time, keep seeking the secrets in the shadows.